Welcome back to Shifting Views with Willis. Today, I'm joined by Kathryn Holeton, a brand designer for musicians. She works with emerging artists and musicians to help them define their brand, their tone of voice, and their messaging, and really believes that musicians need to get this right early in their career, as this is what's going to follow them throughout their journey as their art or their career develops. So that's what we're going to be talking about. This is Shifting Views with Willis. Okay, Kathryn, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So, brand designer to musicians, I assume all musicians and artists really are developing their brand, but why is it you feel that you need to take up this mantle?
When I started my career as a musician, I found that topic wasn't really discussed in depth. Everyone knew you had to have a brand, and everyone knew that was what people would relate to, but no one was going in depth at the time on how to go about making your brand, how to leverage it, how to connect with your audience. Nowadays, I've seen more conversations about that, but when I started, there wasn't that much of it there.
A lot of musicians, I mean, when we think of musicians and those starting out early in their career, singers, artists, whatever, they're very much about the creativity side of what they do, you know, so writing songs, performing, touring, all of that kind of nice stuff that everyone thinks of when we think about bands. But what you're saying is actually they almost need to think about this as like a business enterprise, their personalities, and they need to define what they're about, what their messaging is, what their values are about. Is that what you're helping early musicians deal with?
Yes, if they're for sure serious about making their music a career, it is pretty much like starting a business. You need to have your foundations in place before you really get going full steam. I mean, it's good to get your music out there, but again, if you're really serious, you need your brand because that's how you get booked. People want to see your personality in your photos, your video, your social media, your website, your music. They all want to be able to find you and relate a particular image to you.
So for you, you're sort of saying this is a fundamental part of any early artist's life.
It very much is.
When you say about branding, are you talking about literally branding? Are you talking about visual? Are you talking about like logos and things like that? Or are you talking about identifying what their values are or what they stand for or having a cause? What do you mean by branding?
For branding, I actually focus more on helping musicians identify their message and then help them build out from there, identify ways to leverage themselves to get more brand awareness. And then from there, I also do the visual design as well.
So you're saying that you feel like you need to do this job because so many artists aren't really focusing on that element. From your experience, what are artists getting wrong?
When you're first starting out, yes, it's great to be releasing music because that's how you gain exposure, but they're not really connected with anything, as in they're not actively saying that they support X, Y, or Z, or they're not actively spreading a particular message that would help their audience relate to them. Because you can write heartbreak songs all day long, but if you're not per se supporting mental health and speaking out about it, people won't necessarily be inclined to look into you because people want a reason to care about what you're doing.
In what context do you mean have a cause?
So for your cause, it has to be authentic to you. So if it's something you physically support, then do it. I was just listing a few social issues because that's what I'm more inclined on, but it can be about anything, but you just have to support something that other people would be inclined to support.
Okay, and do you think that this is what helps determine the success of an artist or a musician?
Of course, because other brands will be more inclined to collaborate with you, whether it be another band, a company, whatever, if you have a strong message and you're actively speaking out about something or speaking up about something or talking about something.
I always think that music can almost be defined in eras. So, like movements almost. So you have like, say, I don't know, the punk movement or something like that. And tied to that punk movement is a set of values, a set of messaging, a set of identity. Do you think new artists, when they're starting out, they need to kind of almost like slot into an existing thing first and build from there to help their success?
Starting out, that is a good idea because it gives you time to experiment with how you perform on stage, with how you want to present yourself on stage. And you can, by looking at others, you can learn from them and integrate what you've learned into your own business.
Let's talk about some tangible stuff then, shall we? So if you're starting out as a band, let's say I've just formed a band, or I'm an artist, I'm a singer, a musician, whatever. I'm just starting out. What do I need to have as part of my setup? What do I need to think about? Give us some tangible examples of things that like artists need to be considering.
So, in terms of your brand, if you're just starting out, it would be a good idea to go ahead and get your website and socials set up. But also, if you're really, really sure you want to make this band be your career, you need to dig deep onto your foundations and build out your band's identity pretty much, or your personality.
Yeah, but can you expand on that in terms of what that actually means? So what do you mean by identity? In what physically do we need to do as artists?
So whether you're a solo musician or a band, you should dig deep, as in identify who exactly you want to be in that band and how you want that band to be seen. What reputation do you want it to have? What reputation do you want to be tied to in said band? Because your brand is really your message, and of course, through that, your reputation.
Your job is to help new artists and new bands define their message, define their brand, and kind of reach out to the right audience with authenticity. In all the music that happens in the world, lots of bands do this very well, but there's lots of artists that don't do that. They're just making commercial music and they're highly successful. Why is that? I guess is the question. I assume there's a difference between the two approaches to becoming successful as an artist and making a career. You're arguing that you need to be authentic and have a clear brand because that's going to live with you as your career grows. And I'm saying there's lots of artists out there, particularly young pop artists, but other genres too, that maybe don't have that authentic kind of message or cause, but are highly successful because they make, pop music and it resonates with young people and they make nice videos and all that kind of stuff. Do you think there's a clear break between those two approaches?
For music in general, you do have to pay attention to the trends and you do have to participate in that because that's business, unfortunately. But in terms of being successful, the break is there in that you can have all the shiny videos if you're just starting out and you can have all the backing. But at some point, I feel like you would probably run out of steam yourself. You would get burned out because you're just following the trends. Sure, you're writing and you're making a living off of what you're doing. But if there's no love, if you're not actually saying what you would like to say, it's going to be unfulfilling because starting a business or being in a band or starting something as your career is a journey of self-growth. It has to be something you really want to do in order for it to really pay off.
So let's talk about some of that then. So as new artists then and new bands and starting out, and they get you on board and you're kind of helping define their brand, define their message, define their identity. I assume helping them define their audience and their genre based on that. What are some of the cool methods or the easy methods that artists could think about at this stage when they're starting out? What tangible things could they be doing?
I'm going to go with the band example because bands mean a lot of collaboration. So if you're in a band, you should all sit down at some point after you've been working together for a while and have a good feel of each other. You should brainstorm just some things you would like your band to do. What goals do you have for your band? What message, or has there been anything you would like to talk about in your music? Is there anything you would like to talk about that you think your audience would need to know. Just brainstorming ideas and writing them down is a very crucial first step into really getting your band's personality and visual identity started or down. And
Yeah.
then as you grow, you can always look back at this list and pull from it.
I guess it's kind of like having a business meeting or something. If you're running a business or something like that, usually you would have a meeting with other people within the business and you would define the direction of that business. What's your strategy? Where are you going? Why are you set up? And obviously the product or the service that you provide is kind of how you make money, I guess. That's the value you offer to the customer, in the same way that a band, the value they offer to the audience is the music that they create. It's the same principle. But yeah, I guess from your experience, you're saying not enough bands are sitting down and having this conversation and thinking about it as like an organization, thinking about it like a business. And you're saying they need to be doing that more.
Yes, at least if they're serious about it. I mean, if you're doing it for fun, there's no harm in that. Keep
Yeah.
doing it for fun. If it's something you enjoy and just want to do it as a hobby, I mean, again, I'm not shooting you down, but if you're for sure wanting to make it your career, it would be really to your benefit to sit down and have this in-depth conversation with all your band members about what you all would like to see the band do.
And I suppose that then informs the art that you create. It informs the type of music. I mean, what's interesting to me, I find my experience, I've been playing in music now for over 25 years, and I've played with lots of musicians. And my experience of this is that when bands form or when musicians work together, they tend to gravitate to similar people that have similar values to them anyway, in that sort of way. So if you form a hard rock band or a jazz band or a ska band or a reggae band or whatever it is, that's because you're involved in that scene that resonates with you, and the people that you're joining, that you're forming the band with, typically you're meeting through that scene. You recognize that they're also a part of that. So in a way, the chances are your values are probably quite similar at the start anyway. That's why you've formed the unit. I guess what you're saying is that isn't enough to say we're all on the same page. There needs to be a more kind of strategic business approach to how you're going to propel the band forward and make sure that everybody is, I guess, singing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak. Everybody is kind of pushing the same message, the same values, thinking about in the same kind of context.
Yes.
I was looking at some of the earlier notes that you sent to me, and one of the things you'd said was about bands not talking so much about themselves and rather talking more about what their audience might want to hear.
In terms of marketing and messaging, what you do ultimately does depend on your audience. And it's not that they don't care about you, it's just that they're looking for different things.
There are millions of bands out there. Everyone's trying to do well and be successful with their music, so the competition is quite vast. And, I actually believe there's room for everyone because music's a wonderful thing and it's global and it resonates everywhere. But on that front, the difference between those that are able to make a living from it or even be successful from it versus those that don't, I guess number one is consistency, like staying the course and keeping going and having belief in what you're doing, and also being good at what you're doing, being well rehearsed, well practiced, writing lots, performing lots, really learning your craft. That's one. But the other side is, I guess, will the audience resonate with us? Will the audience like what we're talking about? Will they not only like the music that we're making, but actually feel some form of connection with what we're about as a band? And you're saying that's kind of where the brand and the identity is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because at the end of the day, people want to care about something.
And if you're not doing that, if you're not pushing that brand and you're not pushing that identity, you think you'll essentially get lost in the void.
Yes, especially in this age of AI, the more authentic you appear, the more you appear in good lights and not bad, the more it's going to only benefit your band. the more visibility, the more authentically, and the more you can get your message out there, the stronger your audience will resonate with you, and the stronger your band will get in terms of business potential.
Moving forward then, in terms of developing a new artist, what are some of the first steps that you would take? So because you work with these artists, so if they come to you and say, okay, we want to push our brand, we want to build our band, we want to sort of, this is our career, what are some of the first steps that you would take when sort of advising a new band or a new artist starting out?
My first steps would be asking them a bunch of questions that would really make them think about where they would like their band to go. So all of those branding questions. And then from there, I would give them a brand personality, which is something that Carl Jung made, because the brand personality is deep, or kind of like your zodiac sign. They're kind of eerie when you find what your brand personality is. And then from there, we can go about crafting the perfect message that would help your band grow. And then we would work on your mission, your values, and all of that fun jazz. And then from using that information, I would then build out your visual identity. So the logo, color palette, typography, or the fonts you'll use across all of your socials, your website, other pieces of brand collateral. Then I would also do the website and brand collateral such as business cards, electronic press kits for PR opportunities.
If you was to leave a message, so for new artists that listening to this, or fledgling bands, people starting out in the industry, what's the overarching message that you want them to take away? What is it that you think is really important for them to understand?
It's important to keep honing your craft, but you need to give yourself a direction to go with it. Because ultimately, your direction will determine how successful you are. Your message will play a part in that as well.
You do this, you work with artists. So if people want to reach out to you and get your advice on this, how can artists get in contact with you?
You can send me an email, a DM across social media, or fill out a form on my website. I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, LinkedIn. Of course, you can find me on my website, and I have my email also on my website.
Okay, so what's the website?
My website is kathrynholeton.com, or kathrynholeton.com.
Okay, kathrynholeton.com. So if you're a musician, a band, an artist starting out, you need to be thinking about your message. You need to be thinking about your brand, the identity of your art, and getting those early footsteps right, because that's what's going to travel with you throughout your career. Is that a fair way to sort of wrap up what your message is?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Listen, Kathryn, this has been really, really interesting. Thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And if you're a new band or artist, be sure to reach out. And Kathryn, I'm sure, will help you out. Take care, Kathryn. All the best. Thank you very much.